Rachel Whitmore's life had always been made of glass and marble and polished chrome. Her estate perched on the Hudson River like a monument to power, floor-to-ceiling windows, a private elevator, walls lined with priceless art. Yet inside that shining palace, she was powerless to help the one person who truly mattered. Her 7-year-old daughter, Lily, was born with a condition that weakened her legs and stole her balance. Doctors used words like rare and unlikely and permanent. Money poured in, specialists, therapists, equipment, but none of it gave Lily what she asked for every night before bed. "Mommy, will I ever run?" One rainy Thursday, Rachel stood in her massive garage, surrounded by a fleet of luxury cars. A McLaren, a Bentley, a Rolls-Royce, every emblem gleamed under the bright lights. But parked awkwardly in the far corner was an old dented pickup. Its owner, Ethan, a local mechanic, was under the hood, sleeves rolled to the elbows, hands black with grease. He'd been hired to fix the service elevator that had jammed again, something Rachel's contractors never seemed able to do right. Rachel barely noticed Ethan at first. She had meetings to prepare for and calls with European partners waiting. But when she glanced through the glass wall, she froze. Lily was there, in her small wheelchair, inching across the slick garage floor to get closer to the truck. She loved trucks. She said they looked brave. Rachel's first instinct was to call her back, worried she'd tip over, but something stopped her. She watched. Ethan looked up, spotted Lily, and didn't shoo her away. Instead, he wiped his hands on a rag and knelt in front of her, speaking so softly Rachel couldn't hear. Lily giggled. It had been so long since Rachel had heard that sound, unguarded and free. She felt a lump in her throat she didn't expect. Minutes passed. Ethan pulled a small wrench from his pocket, handed it to Lily, and guided her tiny hands so she could help. For the next half hour, they worked together on the rusty truck like old friends. Rachel found herself leaning against the cold garage wall, afraid to move and break whatever spell had settled in the air. When Ethan finished, he packed up his toolbox. Lily rolled closer and tugged at his sleeve. "Do you fix people too?" she asked so innocently it nearly broke Rachel's heart. Ethan looked at her, then at Rachel, and then back at Lily. "Sometimes," he said with a quiet smile. "I can't fix people, but I can help them try." That night, Rachel sat awake in her dim study while the rain tapped gently on the windows. She thought of all the experts with framed degrees who had given her daughter no hope. And then she thought of the mechanic with grease on his collar, who had somehow given Lily something priceless, courage to believe, even for an afternoon. She found Ethan's card in the kitchen, a cheap business card with smudged ink. She dialed the number, her hands shaking in the dark. When he answered, she almost hung up. But she didn't. Her voice cracked when she asked if he'd come back tomorrow, not to fix the elevator, but to see Lily again. She didn't know what she was asking for exactly. But maybe, just maybe, she'd finally found something her money couldn't buy, but her daughter truly needed. A chance at hope. Ethan arrived at the Whitmore estate the next morning before the sun rose over the Hudson. He carried no fancy medical bag, no binder of test results, just a battered toolbox and a gentle nod for the security guards who eyed him with suspicion. Inside the house, marble floors echoed under his boots. Rachel was waiting in the hallway outside Lily's room, coffee gone cold in her hands. She didn't know what she expected to see. Maybe Ethan would bring some strange device, some trick. But all he did was smile at her, then knock lightly on Lily's door. Inside, Lily sat on her bed hugging a stuffed giraffe. Her eyes lit up when Ethan entered. "Are we going to fix another truck?" she asked, her voice full of sleepy hope. Ethan knelt down beside her, ignoring the expensive toys and therapy machines gathering dust around the room. "Not a truck today," he said, tapping her knee softly. "Today we're going to see what your legs can do." Rachel watched from the doorway, arms crossed over her chest, pretending to stay strong, while her heart threatened to break all over again. Ethan asked Lily to show him how far she could stand. She struggled but pushed herself up, her tiny feet trembling on the plush carpet. She wobbled and fell back into Ethan's arms. He didn't flinch. He just laughed with her and tried again and again. Hours passed. Ethan showed Lily simple things, how to brace herself against his hands, how to trust the floor beneath her feet. He told her stories about engines that stalled and trucks that found new roads when everyone said they were done. Each time Lily fell, he held her steady and reminded her it was just a lesson, not a failure. Rachel found herself kneeling next to them, wiping sweat from Lily's brow, her expensive suit forgotten on the armrest. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like a billionaire. She felt like a mother. By sunset, Lily stood longer than she ever had. Just a few seconds, one tiny step forward, then two. Ethan stayed behind her, his hands hovering an inch from her back, not holding her, but ready if she slipped. When Lily finally took a third shaky step and fell forward, Ethan caught her just as Rachel gasped. Lily buried her face in his chest, giggling and out of breath. "I did it! I did it!" Rachel pressed her hand over her mouth to hold back the sob that rose in her throat. She hadn't cried in boardrooms, hadn't cried at hospitals. But seeing her daughter's tiny feet flat on the floor, she couldn't stop the tears now. Ethan stayed late that night, building a simple set of makeshift parallel bars. In the garage from scrap metal and wood, Rachel offered to pay him any amount, blank checks, a job at the mansion, anything. But Ethan just shook his head. "You already paid me," he said, nodding toward Lily, who was fast asleep on the couch nearby, worn out, but smiling. The next morning, Rachel sat in the kitchen with her coffee warming her hands, watching Lily inch her way between the new bars Ethan built. No hospital lights, no cold, sterile machines, just her little girl, giggling each time she lifted her foot and swung it forward. Outside, Ethan loaded his toolbox into the same battered pickup. He gave Rachel a nod, the same calm smile he'd worn that first rainy night. Rachel stepped outside, pulled him into a hug before she could change her mind. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling, for giving her something no one else could. Ethan tipped his cap and climbed into his truck. Rachel watched him drive away, the early sun glinting off the windshield. She turned back to her daughter's laughter drifting from the garage. For the first time in her cold marble palace, Rachel felt warmth that money could never buy, hope, kindness, and the power of one simple man's belief.